Hi, as always, welcome to Cacao Cup of Marketing, where we bring to you marketers and sales professionals from a range of companies to share with us some of the strategies and tactics they have found to be most effective in reaching their business goals. Mashhood Ahmed is our guest tonight, and he is the team lead of digital marketing at Qordata, a New Jersey based technology company specializing in BI and data sciences. They have expertise across several data management tools where their goal is to help businesses make quicker, better decisions informed by data. Mashhood successfully executed B2B sales portfolio management and brand extension for financial products that served markets worldwide. His interests are in sales automation, digital marketing, and lead generation, and he holds a number of certifications in HubSpot, Salesforce, and Google. We are delighted to have him with us this afternoon to share with us his perspective of how businesses can stay relevant in times of an economic downturn. Mashhood, thank you for joining us tonight. We are so happy to have you.
Hi, Rita. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
So, Mashhood, I would always like to start off by really having my guests say for themselves who they are and especially tell us about their journey into marketing. Of all the professions in the world, why would you choose marketing?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So, I was very young when I founded a small website of Deal of the Day, just like Groupon and just like any other small website selling Deal of the Day stuff. So, I was very fascinated as a young kid, and I thought how I can build that stuff. And at that point, and I didn't know how to code, so I bought the mock-up from another country for $15, and then I start learning about code. And then I learned about how to design stuff, how to design a logo, how to do social media marketing. And Facebook was into its early days, so that was the start actually. So the digital marketing thing and my career and my age was at the right moment, and we met at the right time, I guess. So it just happened. That's
Wow.
how it is.
Amazing, amazing. So I see now you've come from a long line of experience in digital marketing, and now you find yourself in, I think, what is really a dream company because now for the first time you have access to so much data. So could
Yeah.
you tell us a bit about Core Data and what they actually do?
So Qordata is based in New Jersey, and they are actually a data company. They build compliance solution for U.S. pharmaceutical companies, for European pharmaceutical companies, and we provide help to compliance departments in U.S. and Europe to help identify their data, to build data on their compliance information, and to tell them the risk and all the compliance issue they will come across later in the line. So our data, our platform helps them, just see what's happening and stay on top of it. And on the other hand, Core Data is into technology consulting. We provide business intelligence and development and master data management, all kind of services to our wonderful clients across the world.
Amazing. So now that you have access to all of this data, I'm excited to hear from you. What are some of the trends you actually see marketers are experiencing or getting into during this current pandemic?
So as we learn from our practice as well, and we learn from other courses and from the generic market study, what I have found out that in this time of Corona pandemic, people are more online, and that's pretty obvious because they cannot leave home, and they only have two things actually. One is TV, and another is a laptop or a cell phone. So they are more online, they are visiting more websites, so the digital traffic is way more than it used to be before this pandemic. In some report from HubSpot, I noticed that they have stated 56% spike in digital traffic. But what the sad part of it, that people are not buying at this point, and which is very sensible because this is a very uncertain time, and people want to make very wise economic decisions. So they are interested in brands, they are coming online, they are looking at your product, but they are not buying as of yet. But I think it's a great opportunity for companies, for salespeople, and for marketeers to be there to provide value.
Amazing. And you've touched on a very good point because, as you said, people aren't buying right now, but we as marketers have to continue being present and being, giving value. This has been the trend of the talk lately about us providing more value. So,
Right.
what do you think about that? Should we actually be at this stage providing value or actively selling or trying to close deals at this point?
uh, Actually, we should be providing value, and not only be providing the value, but being more empathetic about other situation. Like, it's more human connection now, as we all are into the same crisis. Like, every country, mostly countries are in the same pandemic. We are on the same page now. I think after a very, very long time, the entire world is on the same page, and we can feel for each other. And this is the greatest opportunity for marketing people. And of course, the responsibility that they should be more human. They should understand what people need, what people want, and how to provide value to them. So selling is a good part, selling is not bad. But if you are selling while telling them how your product or service will provide value to them, that's a pretty good stuff to do at this point.
But and I understand what you're saying, but I want to play a bit of a devil's advocate here because at the end of the day, as you see how many people are being sent home, businesses are not generating revenue. So it's quite understandable that, management teams and leaders are forcing people to close deals at this point, right? So
Right.
how can you actually balance that? Because a business needs revenue in order to continue operating. And if we as marketers simply focus on just providing value and not trying to bring in opportunities for our sales teams and our sales teams and closing deals, how can that business go on? So how do you think we can help this situation still?
Sure. So generally, there are two types of business which are running out of business essentially in this pandemic. One, business which are not online, right? Like any sort of small business which is not operating on online platforms. They are not on Facebook, on Instagram. They don't have e-commerce store or some kind of a platform where they can interact with their customer outside their shop or office. So now this is a time pretty challenging for them. So they are going out of business. And the other type of business is which they do have online presence, but they were so I would say humanless in selling their services. They were so selfish while selling their services that they couldn't provide the visibility how they are adding value to their customers. So now customers are more aware. Customers do have more time because they are working from home. Like, they do have time to research, and so obviously it's a crisis mode. Companies who are providing right platform and right value will win the game, and it will continue post pandemic as well, because now consumer know what companies are offering, what's their true color is. We should put it like this way.
You know what? I really appreciate that you said these things because this is something that we've also noticed with some companies we are looking at in this time, and it kind of prompted us to launch a crisis branding workshop because so many companies before, as you said, were very humanless in their approach of how they spoke to their audience and spoke to their prospects. They focused a lot about what products they have, how they can help you, but they didn't really understand and really explain how do they bring value to these businesses. So you're right in that they have to become more human right now. They have to be relatable and they have to be what is known and what is being said as being current. So you
Right.
can't ignore the current situation. You can't just decide what's important for me is to make money and I'm going to push my products. But you
Right.
do have to step back and see, okay, if this product is not relevant right now, maybe I should offer something else. Or even if I have to take a hit right now in my sales, but I could give away something for free to help my audience or help my prospects, it's probably the best time to do this, right?
Indeed. Very true. Very true.
So that brings me to another question about the marketing tactics that we can implement as marketers during this time. Last week I spoke to a very good guest, Talia Schmidt from All Cloud. It's another technology company as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she also gave some really good tactics, but she's based in Israel. We are all over here. We do things in a different way sometimes. But I would love to hear from your perspective in the US. What types of marketing tactics can someone implement in an economic crisis as we are going through now?
So, as you rightly put, that most companies were just pushing their product. They were just selling, selling, selling. So that was the wrong approach, and all marketers should avoid it at all times, I would say. So, marketers who are sending out emails, and they should be really very mindful of their open rates and click rates. If you're not getting the response they believe they should be getting, they should stop doing that. Like, put more ethical practice back into the marketing. And when you are pushing your social media ads, be more human, be more soft. Tell your prospect what is your value. Don't tell your feature. As we see, every car is the fastest car, every car is the most beautiful car, and every cell phone is much more thinner than the one before that. So these things are now obsolete, I would like to say. And post-pandemic, people will judge companies, brands, and even employees on the value they will bring, not how fancy they are in terms of their features and pricing.
All right. And I also remembered speaking to you just before we went live, and I knew you mentioned a couple of things that marketers could actually start doing in terms of, like, you have all of this downtime, let's say, you could improve certain things about your marketing aspects and your marketing channels.
Yeah.
So could you tell us some of the things we could be doing now, like our website or our chat, what things we should be focusing on improving now?
Sure. So a few things on top of my mind right now are website content. Your website content should speak your language. It shouldn't speak your competition language. It shouldn't speak your industry language. It should just resonate with you. Once it start resonating with you, it will attract the right kind of customers. And then the website load time. So we have this industry benchmark that website load time should be this much second, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 1 minute. Match that. If you are not loading your website in the correct time, then people will obviously bounce off. They will find something else because they don't have much time to do it, right? And then few things that all businesses can implement without any extra expenditure, without investing more, like chat features, like blogs, and making a small knowledge base where people can come and see what kind of challenges you have solved. Putting some videos out there. Maybe you can just use your phone to shoot them. Don't If you don't have budget for a fancy animator, just go and shoot it, but tell people how you are solving their problem, right? And then explore and test a lot. Like, don't follow your old philosophy that people will come through email marketing, that people will come from tagging a few hundred people on your LinkedIn profile, spamming all other profiles. Stop doing that, and put some value back into the marketing. That would be the most crucial step to do.
I really like some of your suggestions, especially in terms of the website's speed and loading, as well as paying attention to the chat features, because these are two things I think once we are busy as marketers and things are back to normal, these are things we generally don't put time in and we don't put effort in because we are so busy doing all the other things.
Right.
So this is really a good time for us to really get down in those, let's call it dead tactics that we don't generally have the time to do, because it
Right.
makes a difference in our marketing, right? People do leave your website if it takes too long to load. They do want to chat with you and they do want an intelligent chat experience. They don't want to be stuck just, trying to get somewhere in your site and not getting any answers and waiting for some salesperson to call them back. So
Right.
I do believe in this. I do believe that these features will generally bring more value. So much so that we're having a chat workshop next week and showing people how to create chatbots on HubSpot. So now that we've
Wow.
mentioned
All the
HubSpot,
workflows and
your
everything.
Yes, exactly. We're going to
Wow.
show people how to actually develop the chat bots and, what are the best practices for the chat bot, because I see the urge for people to really set this up right during this time and they don't know how to. So they actually just decide not to do it. So this is a workshop we are hosting next week, Tuesday.
Right.
So people can sign up on it. They can just go to our website and see it. But I wanted to ask you about HubSpot because I know you are also using HubSpot, right?
Right.
So which features do you currently use most on HubSpot, or do you find, brings the most value to your business right now?
So I think one feature which stay on top of my mind is workflow. Email marketing is all good. The chat feature is all superb, but the workflow for email marketing and the workflow for chat are very, very, very important and so much valuable to us at Qordata. So because of that, we keep ourselves from spamming people. So because of those workflow, we know when to send those emails, what are the right times, what are the right audience. So we train these kind of workflows once in a quarter, and we set everything up and start running on its own. So it's kind of really very valuable and save us a lot of time and of course money as well.
Wow, amazing. And I must say, workflows are always the trickiest feature in
Yeah.
HubSpot. So it's amazing that you thought of that to be your best feature, because oftentimes I go to my clients and I see the mess they created because they use the wrong workflow, because it does
Right.
take a lot of logic, right? So people
Exactly.
who don't generally think logically, workflows can be a nightmare for them.
Exactly. So for the best part of creating workflows, I was on call 1 year back. I was on call with HubSpot support, and they told me this: if you want to build a workflow, first build it on a piece of paper, and don't worry about the logic. Just put simple language to it. Like if someone click or here, what will happen? If someone go over there, what will happen? So put everything in a normal language and then convert it into a workflow. That would be the most easiest way for a person who is starting out with workflows. But very, very
Exactly.
impressive,
And
very, very yeah, it's a very useful tool actually.
yeah, yes, you're right. You're right. And if you understand, this is always a rule of thumb whenever I'm, advising companies and clients as well, because they do often try to start things in the system, and they have to realize that the best best friend to them right now is pen and paper. Anything you start doing, you need to map it out on pen and paper. Even the chat tool, you can't start building the chat tool without seeing it in pen and paper, so to understand which directions people want to go in. So you're so right in getting that perfect, and making sure you minimize mistakes, especially because once you turn on a workflow, that's it. Your database goes with whatever you've done in that workflow.
Exactly,
So
exactly. It,
it's
it is
very
it is very
important.
sensitive, very very sensitive, and for people who are just starting out into workflows, it's kind of a very scary movement when they turn it on and they don't understand what will happen next, and then they're very scary that we have built this workflow, but we don't know what will happen afterwards. So for me, it was like I was very young when I first do it. So yeah, that was pretty cool for me. So I really liked it.
Nice. And I know you also are a Salesforce expert. So I'd love to hear your experience in working both platforms. I don't want to get into which you prefer, but you can just tell us a bit about what were some of your nuances with Salesforce and HubSpot, and which one you think, marketers will probably find the most value with right now if they don't have, a lot of experience in marketing automation, especially.
Right. So if it's a new company or it's kind of a startup, or if you have up to 20-25 people working in your marketing department and you don't have much experienced staff, then HubSpot is the right choice, of course. Salesforce is much more complex. It's like driving through the JFK airport, I would say. It's like that. You know, maybe that complex. And HubSpot is not that complex. It's pretty intuitive. It's pretty easy, and you can train people. The best part is you can train people in much less time than Salesforce. For Salesforce, you need to have long conversation, courses, videos, all the checklists and items. But for HubSpot, it's like, okay, if you want to do this, just do this like couple of clicks and you'll be done. So that's the best part. So for small company and for marketing people who are just starting out, and they have a limit on their budget and they have a limit on their resources, and they don't need very fancy functionalities, just the basic features plus some add-ons, they can always go for HubSpot. HubSpot is in the right spot, I guess.
It's right. It's in the right spot. So that's why they named them HubSpot, right? You're
HubSpot,
so
yeah.
right. Yeah. Yes, you're so right. I see a lot of startups in Israel also beginning to adopt HubSpot. Do you see that trend in America as well? Are more companies adopting HubSpot over Salesforce in America as well?
Yes, actually, in CRM industry in the US, HubSpot is, I guess, it's in top 5 now. So Salesforce is obviously growing at a higher pace because it's very old and they have these all giant customers. But where we
Mm-hmm.
see HubSpot is with more small companies. So we have more startups, we have more small companies, we have more consultant based companies, consultancies, which are using HubSpot. So previously, they were not using Salesforce, they were using some other CRMs which are more basic. So HubSpot is kind of,
Yeah.
it's in middle of Salesforce and a very basic CRM. So people find it more easier to just adapt to it.
Amazing. Amazing. So, just as one of my last few questions to you, we are all really concerned now about our current crisis, and we're all like thinking, what can we do now? What can we do now to keep our businesses running? But this crisis will come to an end one day. And I was wondering, what do you think marketers should be doing post-crisis? Should they change their habits? Should they implement different types of tactics? Or do you think they should go back to where they were before the crisis started and start running those types of campaigns?
Right. So I would say it's a great learning opportunity for marketing people and for sales people and for every role in the company which interacts with people outside the company, which interacts with customers, which interact with prospects. This crisis and this pandemic will change the dynamics of our industry and how we used to do our things. Now we'll be more
Right.
mindful, more human, more emotional. It won't be the, it won't be the same old fastest car, fanciest car, thinnest phone. It won't be like that. It'll be more like what's valuable for our customers. So I think my
Right.
suggestion would be, and I will practice it myself, that start telling what value you bring, how are you standing out from your competition, not only from pricing, not only from the feature set, what extra mile you are going, so that extra mile will be the real game changer for industries across the world.
Right, right. I totally agree with you because I do see that we do have to up our game, and the companies that don't focus on really being authentic and don't focus on really continue being relatable to their customers, and as you keep saying, providing real value will be the ones that will actually not survive after this crisis, even if everything goes back to normal, because people now have sort of, I believe, gotten the empathy bone almost. They're
Yeah,
now understanding that they want people to feel their pain and really bring real solutions. It's no longer
exactly.
just trying to sell something in a box and hoping that people will appreciate or want it right after.
Yeah,
But you
right.
have to recognize that people do want to know how are you going to solve their problems, and making sure to hold you accountable to that as well. It's not like you can sell a product that's defective and take their money and think it's okay. They will want to hold you accountable and make sure that that product works for them. So for sure, the value will be extended, I think, in a long, long way after this crisis.
Exactly. So empathy and transparency and accountability would be the most important things. for marketer, for salespeople. I think in general for all businesses, you no longer trick your consumer into something which is not over there, and you cannot commit to something which is not present. So I think people are more aware now. They are going through this pandemic. They are just upgrading themselves. They are learning more about what brings them real value. Before that, many people used to say Batman their hero, and now they are calling doctors their heroes. So it's a big shift.
It is.
It's a very big shift. Yeah.
You are so right, because I myself was shocked when I kept seeing all of this. Thank you, our heroes, and they making the doctors, so important. I mean, doctors I thought were always important because at the end of the day,
Exactly.
without them, we wouldn't exist, right?
Yeah, and
But
it is because of their responsibility, and they were so responsible and they were so transparent that they took care of their customer, I would say, their patients. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn from them. That in crisis, you need to learn and you need to change yourselves and be more human towards another human.
yes, yes. And even sometimes it's at your risk, or even sometimes it's not at your best interest. The fact
Yeah,
is, you took that oath, and this is what you promised, so you must deliver on that promise. So, on that
exactly.
note, that is the best advice I think you're leaving us with. Deliver on our promises.
Yeah, exactly. That is very important.
So, Mashhood, I really appreciate the time that you spent with us this afternoon. I would love to, I know there will be people who would have lots of questions after they watch this video later on and as time goes by. So, please let us know how they can connect with you and talk with you should they need.
Right. So, of course, I'm on LinkedIn. You can search through my name, Mashhood Ahmed, or on Twitter, maybe Mash Tweets. It's a fancy name. I was very young when I put that. So, it is what it is. But yeah, you can find me over there, and I'm sure they can reach out to you, and we can perhaps help everyone we could.
For sure, for sure. So, guys, really, as you heard it from Mashud, first things first, remember it's empathy, authenticity, and over deliver on your promises. This is what you, as marketers, can bring to the table during this crisis, after this crisis, and hopefully you were doing it before this crisis. So, thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you next week as we join with another guest who will be talking about more interesting stuff. So don't miss our next session. And Mahmoud, thank you so much again, Mashud.
Thank you for having me. You have a great day. Bye.